In this video, you will learn how to build a birdhouse in intermediate shop. You will have to learn how to use a miter gauge to cut pieces precisely on the bandsaw. In this portion of the video, you can see me using a miter gauge to cut the pieces on the bandsaw. It is very important to keep your pieces tight against the miter gauge and go slowly so that you can cut accurately. For this project, you will be given one board that is 35 inches long, and you will have to cut all of your pieces out of it. In the video you are watching, I use scrap pieces to make my birdhouse, but the principle still is the same. Measure each piece out, mark the size so that you know what they are, and then cut them out. Notice how I'm using the speed square to create a 90-degree line so that I can make accurate cuts using the miter gauge and the bandsaw. The 1x6x3 and 1x6x2 inch pieces will need to be cut down to 5 inches long. The 1x6x3 and 1x6x2 inch pieces will need to be cut down to 5 inches long. Now you can see how we are going to tip the bandsaw table to 45 degrees and then take our 1x6x7 and show how it is cut at a 45-degree angle. This portion of the video is in real time to show you how slow you need to go to make sure and have an accurate cut. It also shows you where to line up your cut on the edge so that the roof pieces come together appropriately. As with all other projects, you control the bandsaw. If something goes wrong, stop and reassess. As you can see, it takes a long time to make this cut as accurate as possible. You can also see how the table is tipped in that shot. Here, this is using the intersecting corners method to find out where you need to drill your access hole for your birds. You can also see the line where you will cut off the 4.5 inch piece so that it has a flat spot. You will then use a 1 inch spade bit in order to drill your hole into the end of this piece. After you have your hole drill, go back to the bandsaw, and using a miter gauge turned to 45 degrees, you will cut the corner off of your birdhouse piece. Make sure and keep your piece tight to your miter gauge as you cut. Now that you have all your pieces cut, it's time to start laying out your pre-drill holes. You will put your pre-drill holes in the middle of all of these pieces, just like it shows. 1.5 inches here, 1.5 there, and 1 inch there. Please come back 3 3/8 of an inch off the edge, so that it lines up in the center of the piece that you were putting the screw to. Notice how it's clamped to the table so that I can use 2 hands to drill nice and straight through the piece of wood. Once you have your holes drilled, take the one end piece and one side piece, and using glue and 1¼ inch screws, attach them like this. Making sure to keep all your joints flush, straight, and even. Now, attach your other end like this. Always clean up your glue mess. Now you will attach your other side piece, which was cut down to 5 inches. The last piece you will put in is your bottom piece. It has 2 45-degree cuts on it that will be cut by your teacher. It is also cut down to 5 inches in length, so it will fit appropriately. The next step will be to attach your roof. On the end that does not have the hole in it for your birds to get into the birdhouse, you will keep it flush against the back like this, lining up your 45 at the top corner of the birdhouse. The front should have a little bit of a hangover so that there is a water spot, or a spot for your birds to get out of the water. Notice how I put 3 screws in, 1 on each end and 1 at the bottom. Now flip your birdhouse over and do the other side. Here you can see the overhang of the roof piece. The last step that you will do is to use a cut-off scrap from your pieces in order to make a bird perch for the front of your birdhouse. Use glue and 1 screw that is pre-drilled in order to fasten it. Always clean up your glue mess. The last thing you will do is to sand and finish it appropriately. Please review the birdhouse written plans as well as watching this video multiple times in order to be successful. As always, any questions, make sure and ask your teacher. Thank you.